Today, we're going to look at the user-centered analysis in human-computer interaction. Uh, what do we mean by user-centered analysis? This is nothing but a critical phase in the design and development of interactive systems, software, and interfaces. This aspect actually focuses on understanding the needs, goals, preferences, and behaviors of the users who will interact with the system. So today our topic is just going to evolve on how we can, understand the users' needs, their goals and preferences and behaviors of the users who interact with the system. The primary goal of the user-centered analysis is to ensure that the design of the interface or system aligns with the user's requirements, expectations, ultimately resulting in a product that is both usable and user-friendly. Yeah, so we are still looking at some design principles, still having in mind our users. So with the UI design, as developers, you must take account the needs, the experience, and capabilities of the system users. So we are developing a system. So this is just like the system development. If you guys have done software engineering, you realize that whatever I'm going to talk here is going to look more like it. So what are the users expecting the system to do? Then you also look at their experiences. What have they been doing manually? So whilst you are inculcating um, that idea, you are trying to develop an interface that is going to suit those instances. Where's this noise coming from? Alright, so designers should be aware of the user's physical and mental limitations. Please hold on. I think there's this ambulance making noise. So give me some few seconds. So this is done.
We can hear you clearly. With the noise, we can hear you clearly. Please go on.
Oh, okay, then that's fine. Alright, so designers should be aware of users' physical and mental limitations. So in our previous lecture, I realized that human beings have different brain that they use in processing information. Others are highly intelligent, others are not, or others are average, as we already know in the system. So when you are trying to create UI designs, you should have those people in mind, because also the system you are going to develop, just like your system development, the system you are going to develop for kids are different from the middle class or the middle age or the older age. So you just have those people in mind. Okay, what am I bringing on board that is going to make my interface attractive? So you should look at the users. Also, aside looking at we human beings, where most of us are normal, we are also going to look at those who are physically challenged. Okay, those are physically challenged. If you are developing an app for those who are physically challenged, you should know what to put in and what not to, bring in the situation. So it's the same thing here. When you talk of having the user's physical and mental limitations, these are some of the areas you should be looking at. Then you should also note that not all the UI design principles are applicable to all designs. Now, as time goes on, we've learned some of the design principles. We are going to look at others. We are trying to say that it's not compulsory to fit all the principles into your application. Some of your design principles may not work based on the system you are designing. So we are looking at a lot and we've seen a lot. When you are designing, you should have it in mind that you can't put all the principles we've talked of, you can't put all of them into your system. But just have it in mind that at least there are some that cannot come in. You just have to let them be to have a good system or interface designed. So with the design principles, there should be a good conceptual model with a consistent system image, um, with the application interface. You should have a consistent. As for consistency, we've talked about it a lot. Yes, you should have that in mind. If you are using one color, a particular color uh, for buttons, maybe even if it is the OK button or the not button, you should know the colors that you are using for those particular buttons, so that anytime the user sees a particular color, the user knows that this particular color, always falls at a positive angle, or maybe at a negative angle, whatsoever. Then the interface or an interface should include good mappings that reveal the relationship between stages. We all know that applications tend to have multiple uh, interfaces. Good. So there should be a relationship. As example is what we looked at when we were doing the login and the signing. I showed you a particular application where there is a login interface that can help you to log in, and also there was a link from the login interface to probably the sign up interface. Exactly. So you should also have good mappings. You should put the rightful buttons at vantage points such that when you are moving from one interface to the other, your system doesn't look confusing. State and the action alternatives should be visible. Now, when you look at some applications like the Microsoft Word, when you look at the file session, let me bring out the Microsoft PowerPoint. Now, the PowerPoint, for instance, if I want to save, I can do Control plus S. It will save. Then, if I want to save again, I can also come to File. Then I can go to Save, and it saves. If I want to save again, I can either use this particular button out there. So, with the development of user interface, we are trying to tell you that if you have any action or buttons, you should provide alternative means of getting the same action done. Here you tend to make the interface friendly in a way that users can click one thing here and they can go to another place to go and click the same thing there. Based on where the user is, saving or doing this a particular action can be achieved. Are we okay? Yeah. So that is one of the principles we should also look at. They also have the user should receive continuous feedback. It's very important to always um, give feedbacks to your users. When they click on save, they should know that particular instance has occurred, and it has saved. If it's not successful, you should just let the user have a feedback. That is one of the key importance of the interaction when it comes to systems. You give a feedback, or you instruct on what to do and what not to do. So those feedbacks are actually important to users when you are developing any um, interface or system. Then we also have the other design principles like aesthetically pleasing. You always need to have a good eye for beautiful things. Yes, because when you have a system that is beautiful, it attracts users. It attracts lots of people to enjoy the use of the application. So one of the things you are supposed to be looking at is to provide meaningful contrast between screen and elements. Yeah, so how you are positioning your designs, your elements, or I'm talking of buttons whatsoever, labels, text views, text boxes, when you are positioning them on your interface, they should be positioned well. You shouldn't have a particular control overlapping on the other. Yes, it should look nice. You can also use what we call groupings. Yes, looking at this particular application I'm using, you can see we have the edit. So sometimes it's good to put your buttons in what we call groups. So if there's a need to do that, then you try to do that. It apportions or it makes things clearer or interfaces clearer when you are dealing with them. Yeah, so align screen elements in groups, that is fine, and provide three-dimensional representation. Yes, if you have images that they look like 3D images are really nice. Using them can make your work nice. And blending of your colors should be important to you. You should know what color to put on, and based on the design or the overall color you are using. When you put a particular background color down, you should know some of the text that when you put on that particular background, they should still be visible to the eyes. Make your work aesthetically pleasing. So here we are looking at the beauty of your design. That will help the users to enjoy your application. Also, we have what we call the familiarity. In the aspect of familiarity, when you are looking at systems where some people or the users are doing their stuffs manually. Now, looking at, for example, an office system should use concepts such as documents, folders, blah 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 blah, and all those stuff. Now, since those users are familiar with words like files, folders. Now, when you are creating a system, or you are designing a system or a system interface, some of your icons or your interfaces should portray, their real world scenarios where you can put an icon like a file or like a folder when they are dealing. So, since it's a file system or an office system, you realize that when they see a particular icon looking like a file, they know that this particular icon depicts a file. This particular icon depicts a folder. So that is how you should be connecting what they are familiar with into the system. So don't bring anything weird that they are supposed to find ways and means to learn whatever it is. Remember, we are making things easier for our users. And sometimes, aside making icons, you can also use words that they are familiar with. There are some words that the corporate use. You tend to use those particular words. When you go to the business field, for instance, or when you develop a system um, for an accounting firm, search or look out for words that they are familiar with, so that you can inculcate those words into the system. That makes it more um, easier for the users to understand and know what you are trying to mean based on words they are already familiar with. So consistency is here again. um I'm not going to talk much. I'll just slide the same thing that we've known. Whatever you are using should be the same from one interface to the other. That is the consistency for us. Then yes, you also need to minimize surprises. Yes. Now we are in a world where now we are in a world where we use lots of applications. We're in a world where we use lots of applications. Yeah, so um, there are instances where since users are familiar with the use of applications. All right. Um, Minimize surprises. So users are familiar with the action that when you click on a save, something needs to be put should be put somewhere. I mean, there should be a saving happening. You shouldn't allow you shouldn't create a system, or your system should be in a good standing, in a way that the person is clicking save and something else is actually happening. So here the user may be surprised at what is happening. It's expected that if the user saves, it should be saved. If the user deletes, it should be what deleted. So users should be able to anticipate the flow of the task, so they already know what is going to happen based on a caption on a particular button. So the moment the user clicks on something, the user is expecting that this and this should what be happening within the system. So expectations of the user needs to be what fulfilled. Sometimes there are some applications when you use, you are clicking something, then you will be seeing another thing. Sometimes it's actually what frustrating. So here we need to actually ensure that whatever we've said we are going to provide, it is what exactly that the user is what expecting and should receive as expected. Then we have forgiveness. Prevent errors from occurring when possible. Tolerate and forgive common and unavoidable human errors. When an error occurs, provide constructive error messages so that the user will understand and do the needful. Then protect against catastrophic errors. So forgiveness of with the forgiveness when it comes to applications, you help the user to avoid certain errors. So instances where the user has to type the name, you can make sure that that particular control that is accepting the name should do away with foreign characters like the art, the weird character. We know the weird characters, and since users are typing from probably a keyboard, they can make mistakes. So you can let the control exclude those ones. So even though the user may make a mistake in typing some weird characters, that particular application or your application will avoid those errors. All right. So that is one of the forgiveness that we are trying to make you guys understand. So there are some errors we can avoid. We try as much as possible to avoid. The last time I was also giving an example where the user, um, instead of allowing the user to enter the person's age, you can actually allow the person to pick a time or a date picker. Then you can put the code behind that will calculate based on the year of birth the person is going to submit. Then the math can be done. That one will always give you a clean sheet of data that will be inserted into your database. So from your interface, you should allow users to be able to be restrained from certain errors that you think they can have. So whilst you are designing the system, you are thinking as a user. It's very important. As you are designing the system, you should also think like a user. Okay, so when I'm using the system and I happen to click this side or go this side, what is going to happen? Try and prevent the user from going to those areas. Okay, yes, so that is the forgiveness. So you try to prevent them from going to a place that that when they go there it can crash. There are some applications, or when you are developing some systems, whilst the system is growing, there are some areas when you go there, the system may be working fine, but there are some areas when you go there, it can crash the system. So as a developer, it should be intelligent enough to prevent the user from going to those areas, so as it can still have your system in shape. Else when they go to those areas, you are going to be in trouble. you come back complaining, telling you that your system is a quack. Yeah, so diversity should also users should be able to set preferences. Good default settings should be provided for non-progress. Then interaction facilities for different types of users should be supported. So for example, some users have seen difficulties, and so larger text should be available. Yeah, so with a diversity, we are looking at instances where you can get most people to use your system. Now, you can be looking at areas like visuals. Yes, visual. So some people have eye problems. So this application, for instance, you can see that we have the zoom there. So if your system has a particular standard of letters, even that standard, some people cannot see. So your system should provide that particular diversity where if you are short-sighted, you can actually, increase. You can actually make the zooming to be made possible to view the letterings or whatever information is on your interface to be wide. If the person is, I don't know how to put it. It's either you are short-sighted or you are what, long-sighted. So you look at those areas and ensure that you have a system that can allow. So here, when somebody is finding difficulties, maybe when the letters are really big before the person can see, so the person can actually zoom out so that he or she can see. Else, if the person can also can't see your default, your default or the standard lettering, the person can zoom out so that the scene can be made. So these are some areas you can think of to actually inculcate within your system. With diversity, you can also look at age group where maybe the middle age or the old age can still get to use your system, or just trying to put more people into uh, the situation whereby they can still use the system based on what you are trying to design. Also, we're also looking at clarity. Yes, if you're using an image, you should make sure that image is sharp, or let's say it has a high definition. So when you put any image on it, it shouldn't be blurred. It should be clear. If you have any words that you are using, your words should not be ambiguous. You should just go straight to the point. As we already know, ambiguity can cause a lot. So don't make your system in a way that if you are providing information to your users, they may be confused along the line. Yeah, compatible. The user should love your work. The user should enjoy, the flair to enjoy whatever you have provided to the user. So yeah, basically that is what we are looking at from the compatibility aspect. Comprehensibility. The user should be able to understand certain things. You don't need to go and look at or go and look for dictionaries. Sometimes some people love to use big English, to confuse people. But when it comes to IT, you try to keep your words simple. Whatever it is should be self-explanatory. If you put an image there, the user should know that okay, this image is depicting something. So when the user is asking him or herself, what am I looking at? The user should get the answer right from there. Okay, I'm looking at this, I'm seeing this. So this that I'm seeing means this exactly. So look with this particular hand there. So it's a hand. What is it doing? Now if you used most applications, anytime you see hand, you know that it has a particular operation that it does. So the users should know what they are doing with little help, because when they understand whatever it is, they will need minimal help when they are using the system. Users should also have control over the system. Yes, they should have control over the system. There should be more than one way of doing things. Users should control the interaction. Sometimes when you are using an application, there are some pop-ups that will come with a message and tell you to do A, B, C, D when you are probably going to save a particular information. So while the information is in process, your system should be able to allow the system should allow you to. Why did you come up automatically? Yeah, so whilst the system is trying to save, the user can make sure that, okay, when I click on cancel, the system can cancel whatever is happening at that particular point in time. Sometimes you may be deleting a file. Some programs will not even give you the leverage or the ability to be able to cancel an instruction that you have already initiated. So your system should be able to have that particular flexibility where users can actually cancel a program that is ongoing. Yes. We also looked at some example where I was showing you the what's the name, the email, where you can delete a mail and then revert it back. Yes, after deleting, you can still go ahead and bring it back. So that is a way of allowing a control of the user to happen within the system. Then you also have direct manipulation. Users select an object, then directly performs an action on it. The effect of the action on an object should be immediately visible. Available alternative reduces memory load. So in this, the directness is just straightforward. It's telling us that when you click on one thing, we expect that whatever we've clicked on should happen at the moment in time. So just imagine you click on one thing and it takes a long time to execute. Your system should be fast. So here is looking at some form of efficiency. So whatever the user tends to select, we should have an action, back to the user based on whatever the user has actually clicked. So yeah, so you can see that it leads us to efficiency. Efficiency, you're looking at how fast the system responds. How fast the system responds. Hey, why? So you can see some of the software errors. Something that I have asked it to, not disturb. Yeah, it's something I put it off. It automatically goes back on. So some of the errors that yeah, so some of the things we can do to save ourselves. Yeah, fortunately I can't find this app here too. Yeah, it's just disturbing our class. Telegram. Nonsense. Let's see if I can. Please hold on, let me try and take this thing out. It's just annoying. Wow. When I put this thing off, then it comes back on automatically. Turn on the step automatically. Oh, I don't like it. Sorry. All right, so that is the efficiency for us. Wow. Hmm. All right, flexibility. Now remember, we are trying to make our application or our interface flexible, interactive for our users to um, use or enjoy the system. Now, whilst you are trying to ensure that that particular importance happens, be careful and be careful in a way that if you ensure or if you enhance or if you add more flexibility, it can actually complicate the system and it may crash. So sometimes there are some flexibilities that you want to inculcate in the system, but it may destroy the entire foundation of your application. So you should watch out for those ones. If you are trying to put in something and it's not, working, try and avoid that because flexibility can increase complexity of a system. And when a system is complex, you will know that or you realize that um, it actually slows the overall performance of your um, application. Responsiveness. Your system should be able to respond fast to the user's request. Provide acknowledgement of user actions. So it's more like a feedback. It should be fast. Yeah, it shouldn't keep your users waiting. If there should be an information that your user needs to know, it should be rapid for the user to be able to know the next line of action. So beginners need more or informative feedback than experts do. Yeah, so these particular feedbacks, or response help, especially those who are new to the use of the system. So simplicity, make your application simple. You can have something which is beautiful and still what? Simple. Yes. So provide a simple interface as possible. Minimize screen alignment, make common actions simple, provide consistency and the progressive disclosure. Yeah. So recoverability has something to or has a link with the forgiveness. So the system should provide some resilience to user errors. The system should allow the user to recover from what? Errors. So this might include the undo facility, confirmation of destructive actions. Also have the soft delete. So the soft delete, if there are some applications, if whilst you've deleted, it's at some corner while you can what bring them back. Just like our operating system, if you delete any file from the system, you can go back to the recycle bin and bring it back. So that is some way of recovering um, from the system. They also have the user guidance. Some user guidance such as help systems, online manuals, etc. should be supplied. Yes, so it's also important that any system you are developing, you should have in mind that some users will still face challenges. So you should provide the search. So even with this application, you can see this search there. Yeah. So you should provide a search. Tell me what you want so that they can search for whatever they want to find. Then any information you provide within the system, the user should be able to read, understand, and collaborate or do as expected within the system. Yeah, so it's important to also have user guides such as the help, to your application. Yeah, so this is just an overview of all the points we've treated for today. Yeah. All right, so that is getting to the end, and that is the end of this particular lecture. Please, do you have any question so far that we can elaborate?